Hello, everyone. This is Jonathan Little, and today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about how to play the early levels of a sit and go tournament. For the most part, you're going to want to play somewhat straightforward and play mostly strong hands because you're at a full table against players who may or may not be splashing around a little bit. If you see players limping a lot, you're probably going to be attacking their limps in position. And if players are raising, you're going to want to be calling with your good but not amazing hands and re-raising with your strong hands. In general, you are going to want to try to play in position way more than out of position because that's going to allow you to play big pots whenever you want to play big pots, meaning that if you have a big hand, you get to put in the last bet on every street, which is incredibly important. Something else you want to make a point to do is continuation bet a pretty high percentage of the time, especially in heads-up pots. So, for example, say you raise with, I don't know, Queen Jack offsuit from the cutoff seat or the button, and the big blind calls. If it comes pretty much any flop, when he checks you, you need to make a continuation bet in order to try to steal the pot whenever he has nothing, which is going to be around 2/3 of the time. That's going to be a pretty big profit maker for you in the long run. That being said, you need to make a point to not go broke with marginal made hands. So, say the board comes Jack 10-5 and you have the same Queen Jack and you raise from middle or late position and the big blind called. If he checks and you continuation bet and he check raises, you have to be able to look at this hand, top pair with a marginal kicker and say, this probably isn't good and you need to get out of the way. So you really need to listen to what your opponents are telling you with their bets. Most of the time people are simply going to be playing in a relatively straightforward manner. You don't really need to expect people to be bluffing at you too often, unless you know for them to be crazy, and none of our opponents in the hand examples are going to be incredibly crazy. So you usually need to listen to what they're saying and act accordingly. And the last thing you need to do is you need to try to steal pots, even against the preflop raiser, when it's fairly obvious that they do not have anything too strong. Anytime the board is good for the hands that you are likely playing and bad for the hands that they're likely playing, especially when they show weakness by checking, you really need to pounce and try to steal that pot. So say someone raises from earlier middle position and you call on the button with pocket threes, or say ace 3 suited, and the flop comes 9 of diamonds, 8 of diamonds, 4 of spades. If they check, you're going to want to make a bet because they probably have some sort of big cards and are simply going to check fold. You're not betting because your ace high or your pocket threes are good. You're betting because you think they have a junky made hand and they'll get out of the way. So whenever it's somewhat clear that they have nothing, don't be afraid to take a stab. Hello everyone, this is Jonathan Little, and here we are playing the early levels of a sit and go. So on this very first hand, we have a limp from... On the next hand, we have a raise to 80 from a tight, passive, intermediate player from the low jack seat. The player with the dealer button is the button. The player to that person's right is the cutoff. The person to that person's right is the hijack. And in this hand, the raiser is the low jack. That's usually a better way to talk to people about hands that you're playing. That way they know exactly what spot your opponent raised from, because otherwise some people just say middle position, and who knows what middle position means.